strategic planning session today, so I'm not sure if that's perhaps gone over time. So we'll just push on. So there's one addition to the agenda, which will be item 6.2, and that's the corporate officer has advised me that she's received a petition pertaining to the proposed Rogers cell tower, so we'll receive that at 6.2. So with that amendment, I just ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Councillor Sanchenko, Councillor Lumley, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Also point out that this meeting is being filmed, and the camera's over there. If anybody doesn't wish to be shown on film, that they should make sure that they stay out of the sideline of the camera. 3.1 is the adoption of the minutes of our last meeting. That actually will need to be moved and seconded by us, as Councillor London wasn't part of that meeting. So you want to move that, and then I will second it, and then all in favor, and that's carried. So we have a delegation. Actually, seeing about pretty much everybody here from the Harbor Authority, almost. Welcome. It's good to see you. We're heading into the summer season, and you're going to give us an update on where things are at.
Yeah, you want me to say?
If you would come up there and make sure that is that microphone on.
Okay, this is our quarterly report, but actually it's only for 2 months because our fiscal year ends at the end of March, so it's just for April and May. The operating report, revenues are up 7%. Day visits, April, May 2015, 330 versus 226 from April, May 2014. That's a 32% increase. Overnight visits, April, May 2015, 228 versus 174. Those are April, May 2014 numbers, so that's a 24% increase. Commercial activity on the Phase A float, 15% increase in revenue over 2014. The 2015 commercial spot prawn season, we've had 7 CFE fishing out of Gibsons, 5 fresh, 2 frozen. We've landed approximately 3,000 pounds of fresh prawns on the Phase A float every day while the season's been open. So that's basically everything that we've done, the changes that have occurred during the 2 months. We're still struggling with the insurance claim on EDOC. The insurance company is holding us up, but we have one of our directors communicating with the insurance adjuster, and hopefully we're getting closer to the resolution on that. The problem was it's a small craft harbor's asset, so they were the ones that had to deal with the insurance company, and they couldn't advance any money because the insurance company was claiming that they wanted the money advanced to them, or they wanted the repairs to be done and then they would pay for the repairs afterwards. So that meant that small craft harbors that have to pay for it. But the way the federal system is set up, if they had put money into the repairs, then when they got checked back from the insurance company, it would have gone into general revenue and never would have gone back to small craft harbor. So they weren't willing to do that. So we've been struggling with this. It's been almost a year now, just about exactly a year. So hopefully by the end of this month, we may have some resolution on it. We're also looking at this Canada 150 funding opportunity, and ICE-T also has some funding as well. One thing that we're just investigating at this point, seeing what we need to fill out the applications. One thing that we will need though is the member at the town of Gibson's letter of approval for us to go on with. It'll be Phase B. It'll just be one more float like we've already put in there. Okay, so if you guys can discuss that and decide if you're willing to.
Okay, sorry. Where's this float area? Are we talking about?
We would put another one on the end of the one that's there already.
Are you talking about the drive-on float?
Yeah, the drive-on. So there'd be a second one on the end, and we'd like to get it purpose-built with a cutout in it for barge unloading. Because right now there's only one of the barges in the sound that can offload on our barge, or on our float, because Gordy modified his ramp so that it bends like this, so he can drive vehicles over the top.
Right.
But the rest haven't done that, so if we can get this purpose built, pardon me, then it would be we'd get a lot more barge loading, which would be another increase in funding.
So that's the funding application that you're making to
Yes.
under this federal. This is the federal program that was just
Yeah, the
announced.
150. Yeah,
Okay.
program.
Okay. All right. And that would in terms of its length in comparison to the one that's there now, would it be?
It'd be the same length,
About the same time.
about the same length.
And that would still keep it within the federal.
That would
lease?
keep it within the federal lease. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Have you got a cost on anticipated cost on that yet? Or are you still working on that?
We're still working on that because the first one that wasn't purpose built,
No.
it was one that the small craft harbors already had.
Right.
They said it was worth $550,000, but Roger had discussions with, not Fraser River, the other one. Dan Pyle. And they gave him a verbal quote that they could build it for about 200,000 less than that. So
Right.
maybe being a federal department, maybe they paid more
Yeah.
than the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The $5,000 toilet sort of thing.
Yeah. Maintenance last year, we met our budget for, under our agreement with small craft harbors, we had to spend a percentage of our budget every year on maintaining the facility. And we met our budget last year. Actually, we exceeded it, and we're transferring part of those costs to this year, but we're on track easily for this year for doing the same thing again. So it's not for major items on the small craft harbors is still taking responsibility for that, like pile work and that sort of thing. So this last year, what we did was we replaced the decking and the flotation in our main dock, going out at CDE and F often.
Right. And there was some hydro upgrades done as well?
Yeah, but that was done under a federal program. That was Small Craft Harbors, unbeknownst to us, although they announced it to us later, had applied for it. It was one of their projects, and they applied for the funding. It was approved from back east, so they came in and did all the electrical upgrades on the old floats, new lighting and
Right.
all the leads and that's about it. It's only 2 months.
Manny?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, is there a letter of support needed for the application?
Yes,
for
there
the
is,
town?
yes.
Okay.
And I think that closes on the 17th or 18th of this month, so.
Be appropriate to have perhaps a resolution from council in support of that. We already prepared a letter. Thank you.
Councilor Sanjanko?
Funding application?
Councilor Sanjanko is our representative on the Harbor Authority, so, or liaison rather.
She's the member.
Yes,
She's
that's,
the member.
yes, that's also true, yes. So the motion then with Councilor Sanjanko is to provide a letter of support for the funding on the F-150 program for an additional float, basically the Phase B of
Yes.
the proposed project.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, Councilor Bumley, all in favor for that, and that's carried. Okay, the prawns boats you're talking about, is that fairly consistent from previous years, or are we up? Or?
No, the hot spot on the coast this year was Howe Sound.
Yes.
They opened the whole coast, of course, but boats, from the rumors I heard, there was boats, they weren't getting anything in Knights Inlet, they weren't getting much on the island, so a lot of them are moving down here, because there was more being landed here than anywhere else.
Yeah, I've noticed a really steady in and out of the prawn boats. Are they using the new dock for?
Oh yes,
for
they use
that?
the dock for gear changes and for offloading the product as well.
Right.
And that's another thing that I should mention about the Phase B float. We have a lot of support from the fishermen, because the one thing that after they got used to using it, they said it's not big enough, we need another one.
Okay. to get them to tell small craft harbor.
Oh, yes, we will, we have, yeah.
Because that's, you know, that's their mandate.
yes.
Any looming issues that you're sort of weighing at the present time with respect to the harbor itself? When I say the harbor, I mean you know, your facilities there. Is there anything that you're seeing coming on the horizon that we should be at least alerted to?
Well, the only thing that I can think of is the when they come in to drive the piles to replace that float that was broken up when the boat ran through it. We've been talking to small craft harbors to see if it's possible to replace some of the piles that we know are getting marginal. That's on some that are in some of the pile wells on the other floats. We've identified them, and they've actually identified them under their inspections too, that they're getting pretty worn. So that's one thing that we're hoping to get done, but we don't know that if it'll be done or not. I can't think of anything else. We've had a problem with rot in some of the logs on the building, but we're working with the West Coast Homes on log homes and looking on a way to check how extensive it is and what we need to do to repair it, because we don't have the funds to do it at this point. So.
Yeah, you know, that's, you know, part of the reason why we've extracted ourselves from the ports function at the regional district, so that we can assist where possible with this sort of thing, because we have to look after this here.
Good, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Where possible.
I was told once that it was a one-time opportunity.
Well, there's lots of stuff in the harbor that needs to be dealt with. We have to sort of balance out what can be done. So yeah, there's no piggy bank there.
No, I know. Thanks.
I know that you guys have worked very efficiently in terms of managing the expenses and the revenues down there. So it's very much appreciated, all of the board, that the work that you do down there. So thank you very much. Even Grouchy Bill down there. You're getting some fairly big recreational boats in this year?
Yeah, actually, I was in the office today when Jim was on the phone. A guy wanted to bring a 90-footer in, so I guess that'll be happening sometime. He had to get back to Jim when he was coming. It may be only for a stopover, but unless they anchor out, we're the only facility in Gibson Harbor now that can take that large boat.
Right. So. Councillor Lumley?
He's been in before, has he not? Is it Mike?
I don't know. I didn't get the name from Jim.
Okay, because I went out on a boat that was anchored there. It was at least 90 feet, if not 100 at one point. And I know the power source wasn't. It was all, the only lights he had on were over the bar, which was good, and in the washrooms, because the power wasn't enough to like charge his whole yacht. So my question is, after the next float, is there something else on the, just for my own, is it, what would be the next?
Well, our whole
phase?
project is to put a floating breakwater across from the end of the floats that go straight out, and then moorage inside there, or whatever uses we come up with inside there. But that's further down the road, because that's a lot more dollars. Floating breakwaters are very expensive. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big part of the project, and that's a difficult one. But we just keep moving a step in that direction. So
yeah.
Hopefully we'll get there. Anything else? And if not, so thank you, Terry. Thank you to the members of the board. And very much appreciate the work you're doing down there. So thanks. Thank you for your time to join us tonight. Yeah, no, we won't get offended if we do. Okay, so we'll move to item 6.2, in terms of the corporate office. Tell me what we have.
Thank you, Mayor Rowe. Given each of you a copy copy of a petition that was delivered to me yesterday, and then 3 additional letters that arrived since then. And the petition contains 30 signatures from people who live in the Parkland subdivision who want to express their opposition to the placement of the Rogers Tower at 700 Payne Road. So this is provided for your information.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone present that was wanting to speak to that petition? We are receiving it, but I just wanted to make sure that that opportunity was offered.
There's a few of us here, but I'll say something.
Okay, so would you
Yeah.
just come up here, please, so you're at the microphone because it's being recorded?
No
And
problem.
just state your name and address, and then by all means, please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Krista Joe. I live at 764 Wright Road. I inquired several times prior to moving to Parkland about this cell tower, and was told that the cell tower was going to be up the mountain and that there was just going to be a repeater within the vicinity of Parkland. So my husband and I lived at 981 Chamberlain Road. We sold our big ranch there and decided that we were going to invest in this green community. We've purchased 1 home and a lot, which we have just started construction of a new home on, with plans to purchase 2 or 3 more lots and construct on them. We just kind of really got behind the project, and I feel like more than half of the people in the community have sort of been misled about the vicinity of the cell tower, or its, what it actually was. The fear for me, a lot of people have health concerns. I don't know what the letters have said. I haven't really been part of it. I didn't spearhead the petition, I just signed it. But the fear for me is just that I'm investing a lot of money in this subdivision prior to even completing construction. My property value is going to go down as soon as it's erected, and I'm not okay with that. So that's my concern tonight. Other people have health concerns. If they want to stand up and address those, that's their thing. Mine is more from an investment perspective. I understand the town of Gibson's got a grant to create this community, and I think that what I would want from the developer standpoint, from the town standpoint, from everybody's standpoint, is just for the whole thing to just become a really positive project. And the vibe in the neighborhood now is, if the cell tower is approved, for sale signs are going on almost everybody's lot. I fear for the developer who's got phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 planned. I mean, I don't see it coming to fruition like everybody probably envisioned. And I just think it's important for everybody to hear that. If my question to you would probably be, if it was disapproved at the other locations because of the proximity to residential housing, why is it just being moved to us? Like, we're close to a mall, there's a medical clinic, there's a veterinary clinic, there's like a multitude of homes in the plan. If you have the map of Parkland, there's many phases that go from Payne to Reed all the way to Park. So it's no different than the location at the fire hall. Actually, probably by the end of the project, it's a denser community. So when the idea was squashed about not allowing it at the fire hall location, to move it to industrial, I would suggest, let's move it to industrial, not somewhere where there's plans for a ton of residential.
Okay. Thank you for talking to us about that. We're aware of some of the types of concerns that you indicate there. We're governed by a process, basically, as to how this is actually done. The town doesn't have actual jurisdiction to veto the tower. We did with respect to the location of the fire hall because the town owned that property, but the placement of cell towers is governed by federal legislation with Industry Canada. they require consultation with the municipalities and residents, and they set out a consultation process that requires the proponent to notify people within a certain radius. It's basically 3 times the height of the tower, which was done here, and they publish a notice in the paper and this sort of thing. So Rogers did comply with the minimum requirements set out by Industry Canada, and that's what we responded to. We've already acknowledged that with them. Subject to what I hear from other members of council here, I think we might do a follow-up, consider a follow-up letter to pass along this recent petition to them, so that that's at least taken into consideration in whatever deliberations are ultimately made by Industry Canada. So I understand your concerns.
I think the issue becomes like right now, because phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 are owned by the developer. It's one person who got to approve it. But eventually, if you look at the map, that's going to belong to hundreds of people. So they only had to ask one person, Blaine Hagedorn. I had a conversation with him. I asked him to be here tonight. I had a conversation on the phone with him today. And he sort of said, at the time, I was only sold on the positives. Like, I was not told anything else. I was told I kind of have a bit of power in creating better cell phone service in Upper Gibsons, and I thought that my community would benefit from that, so I said yes on that account. So he said, I'm blindsided by the fact that the community's unhappy about it. So for me, if they only had to sort of go as far as the development that he still owns because he hasn't sold it off, it's one day he's going to have to sell that off, and I think that you all would hope that that did sell off and that we grew as a community, and I think that's going to be a challenge. I mean, you have a whole bunch of people within the little part that's already developed that aren't happy, and that's only a quarter of the project. So I don't know if, I appreciate you passing it on. I think that it would warrant another conversation with him, and kind of for you guys figuring out I'm sure you know what the plan for Parkland is, but I don't see it growing. I see it coming to a screeching halt if this goes through.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, so first of all, I guess we need a motion to receive that petition, I think, Selena, right? So Councillor Sanjanko, Councillor Lumley, all in favor, and that's carried. And I think I'd like to propose a resolution that we forward on to Rogers the additional information that we received subsequent to the previous report, so that they're aware of these additional concerns that have been raised by people that are in that general neighborhood, so that it's not lost. So we're okay with that, Councillor Sanjanko? And I'll second that, I guess. Okay with that, all in favor? Okay, so we'll get staff to put something together to send along to them to raise these concerns. Okay, any other inquiries at this point? There will be another opportunity.
Can I just comment, the 30 signatures may not sound like a lot, but it was everyone in the development minus 2. One had a conflict of interest and one chose not to participate. So.
Okay.
The other thing I'd really like to add is an awful lot of bird life in the area, a lot of swallows. Because of the marshy area, there's a lot of insects, and there's a multitude of birds, herons, eagles, and they'll be affected by sundown for sure.
Right, thank you. Okay, we've got 2 items of correspondence just to receive there. Councillor Sanjanko, Councillor Lumley, all in favor? That's carried. Bylaws, we got actually the 3, sorry?
So I can just, through just 11.2, got the letter from the Premier around the BCM meetings. It's not like we're just having a bit of a review on the files that we have active with the province, and we'll get back to you, to council in the next couple of weeks, and anything that we find sort of might require some political attention on.
Meetings with ministers?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Circulating them out of the council as well, just to be sure. Thank you.
Okay. 3 bylaws there for final adoption. I think we can adopt them all together. So it's the garbage collection disposal amendment bylaw, the update to ticketable offenses, and the unsightly premises. So we've been through those several times. So again, just ask for a motion to final adoption. Councillor Lumley, Councillor Sanjenko, all in favor, and that's carried. Council reports. We really don't have much to report on tonight because I was away for a few days. There was a Makers Festival on Sunday, which was reasonably well attended, I think. So it was a good first stab at that. So congratulations to them. And then the Fuse group has got their premises open and running down in Lower Gibsons there for startup businesses. So that's good as well. Councillor Sanjenko?
Yes, just a couple of things to report as well. Got to the acting mayor last week, and fairly smooth week. I think what I wanted to report on was actually a bit of outreach. I had the opportunity to spend the entire weekend down at Art Vancouver, which was a big creative exhibition, and I took a couple of other entrepreneurs from the coast. I used it as an opportunity to talk to as many people about Gibsons as I could, and I was just curious how many people had been to Gibsons, had heard of Gibsons, and it was interesting to have some conversations about how far away people thought it was, and invite them over this summer to come and have a little visit. I was happy to see a couple of local artists in the exhibition with about 150 other artists at the convention center. So it was an enjoyable weekend, and got to chat with some good people as well.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Roman?
My reports, again, awareness, because every time I go to one of these meetings I learn more. And there was a seniors housing meeting in Seashell. I didn't attend it, I wasn't able to. Weekends are not my free time, but I'm as a liaison to the affordable housing meeting, and obviously Matt coming in today with the it was somewhat disturbing to hear that after the meeting a 69-year-old woman came up to them and said that she had no place to live. So I guess the trailer that she was living in was sold, and the people said she had like a month to get out. So again, it's just awareness for people that there are homeless, there are people that need housing on the coast, and if there's ever any chance for people to help them or anything, just don't hesitate, because it doesn't matter, it's young, old, they are here, and I think we're working towards solutions through our affordable housing policy and the community land trust, but there's also areas as well that everybody can help out. So that's it.
Thank you. Any last inquiries? And if not, then I'll just ask